Hi, I'm Troy.
And I'm Vicki.
And we are Empty Nesters Wine. Hi, and welcome back to Empty Nesters Winery Podcast, Episode 10, Designing Labels, as opposed to Designing Women, which, if you're over 30, you would understand that reference.
Loved that show.
Old TV show from, the 80s?
Yes.
Anyway, designing labels. There's a lot that goes into designing labels, so we're going to talk about that today. Guys, down below, obviously like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't liked our Facebook page, that's where we get out most of our information on how we're doing with opening and our wines, so make sure you like our Facebook page. Definitely like our Facebook page. As of today, we have 299 people like it, and I want to get over 300. Or maybe it's 399. I want to get over 4. Whatever it was. Anyway. Like and subscribe. And if you're interested in hearing anything in particular on our podcast, give a comment below on what you'd like us to cover in a future podcast. I would love to see your ideas and come up with some commentary for your ideas. So just leave a comment below. Vicki, what wine are we going to be tasting at the end of the podcast today?
We are going to taste some of our apple wine that we made a couple years ago.
Ah, very good. Apple wine, Empty Nesters apple wine. Not the apple wine we'll be selling, but the apple wine we made a couple years ago. All right. So designing the labels was interesting. When we first started this as a hobby 5 years ago,
at least, yeah.
Maybe longer. I designed our first label. It had Vicki and I's picture on it. It was
our 25th wedding anniversary picture. Or 20th. Yeah, 20th wedding anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my sister got as a anniversary gift, had a professional photographer come out and get our picture in the woods, had a really good background, and I like that picture, or those pictures. I used them for all kinds of things.
Oh, I do too.
One thing was our label, our first ever label. So if you ever see an Empty Nesters label out there with our picture on it, that wine's old. Hopefully good. But yeah, it was just what we started with, and we were just giving it out to family and friends and stuff like that. And then at some point, I'm not sure why, but I decided I didn't like that label anymore, and so
because it was getting water and messing up the picture every time it got wet.
That's right. I think it was a square label, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I decided to go with a rounded top label, and the label that I had made up wouldn't work. So I designed our second label. It was simple yet classy. And we would print the labels off of our printer in our office at home. We were printing 25 to 30 labels per batch, so that wasn't terrible. But then when we decided we were going to start making big batches and print 250 to 300 labels per batch.
Sorry, excuse our dogs.
We're dog owners, and they're going crazy in the background right now. Our producer's trying to calm them down, and it's just elevating everything.
That's because they like to play with them.
Yeah.
They always have.
Yeah. So when we decided to go with the big batches, we decided we had to get professional labels on rolls and get a label printing or a label dispensing machine, whatever. So
we got a label dispensing machine like 2 years ago. As soon as Troy decided we were doing this, it was like one of the first things he ordered.
I jumped the gun a little bit on some things. I bought some barrels. They sat in our basement for 2.5 years.
Yes, taking up a lot of space.
It's true. So anyway, I talked to several different label printers because I don't like to do things apparently in the order I should. So the label printers were asking questions like, well, how big is your label? What colors are you using in your label? And we hadn't had our labels designed yet, so I don't know, just give me a ballpark figure. So we were kind of getting some estimates on how much it would cost to print labels. But anyway, I told Vicki we needed to get a label designed, and Vicki just happened to know a graphic designer.
I do, yes. Yeah, so we sat down with these samples from these label companies and went through all of them. We spent probably a couple hours just sitting down at this table with them spread all over the place and picked out what we liked. And by the time we were all said and done going through all of them, we kind of pieced together something we kind of liked, and then we took that to our graphic designer, and she's amazing.
She is amazing.
And
we walked in there with
so
4
patient.
different labels.
Yep.
And like laid them out on her kitchen island and put them like a puzzle together and said, "This is what we're looking for."
Yep. She gave us like 3 different ideas to go with, and we went with one and just rolled with it.
So yeah, she gave us some different ideas. So then we had a decision to make. Did we want one label that wrapped all the way around the bottle, or did we want a front and back label? You know, did we want a tall, thin label or a short, wide label?
I kind of liked this 3/4 wrap thing, but I got outnumbered.
Outvoted. Outnumbered. She got outvoted. But yeah, so we did figure out what we wanted. And the label printer that we decided to go with, he's the one that provided us with all those labels to look at. And so we had different papers and stuff to choose from.
We found some papers that we just absolutely loved.
They were
I was
very
so
cool.
excited about them.
Yeah, we both were. We spent a lot of time looking at them and figuring it out, and we got it all narrowed down to like 6 different papers, and then we got it narrowed down to 3, and then 1. We really liked that paper. Took it to the printer, and he said, "You can't use this paper."
Yeah, apparently, because our wines are fruit wines, we have to serve them chilled, and they condensate. And the condensation messes up the paper and the ink.
Yeah, the paper that we picked is for dry wines that remain at room temperature. If you have anything that's chilled, you can't use that kind of paper. So we did have this one the paper that we liked the absolute least. I mean, as soon as we saw it, we put it in the no pile. Like, yeah, we don't like that one at all. He said that's the best one for cold wines. Of course he did. So we had to go with that one. But with our label and how it looks, I think it looks pretty good on that paper, so I think we'll be all right. So when designing our labels, there's very strict government rules on what goes on a label, font size, everything. Certain things have to go on the label, certain things cannot go on the label. But it's pretty easy, really, because they have a website that you can go to and read all that stuff. So even in the beginning, when I was making our original labels, I had all that stuff on there. So it was pretty easy to get our new labels set up once we picked the colors and the paper and the design and all that stuff. But our graphic designer has been amazing, Denise Miller. She does really good work, and she's been very patient because we've had a lot of revisions and
We've had a lot of labels.
A lot of labels, yeah. And she just takes them and makes them look awesome and sends them back to us. So we were trying to figure out on our labels what color we want. We picked this really cool blue color. But then the printer said that, a lot of wine companies, they have a different color for every wine.
That way you can go to the wine and see it on the shelf and know, okay, I like the red one.
Right.
Or I want the yellow labeled one. Or, once you go back again.
So after a couple days of racking my brain to figure out what colors I want to use for each wine, because, you would think strawberry wine, it should be red, right? Because strawberry wine is red. Well, we have clear bottles, so the red label would actually clash with the wine, according to Vicki. I don't know. I didn't pay attention, but so anyway, we decided just to keep them all the same color because we do have clear bottles. We let our wine speak for itself. You can look at the wine through the bottle. A lot of wineries, they have like green bottles or brown bottles, so I understand why they would have different color labels. But when you go to the shelf and look at our wines, you can pick by color of wine rather than the label.
Well, that and being a fruit wine, it has distinct coloring as opposed to like, you go get a red wine. A lot of them are red. And there's a lot of varieties that are very close to the same color, But you can tell the difference between a blueberry and a strawberry in color.
That's true. So anyway, that's the story of our labels and how they were designed. It was a fun project, and then naming our wines on the labels was a very interesting project. Took a lot of research, but we'll talk about that another time. Next week, join us. We're going to talk about the wine making process from beginning to end, the fruit wine making process. Vicki, we're going to taste test that.
The apple?
Empty Nester's apple.
Yep.
I'm looking at it here. It's a nice, pretty golden color, very clear.
Yeah, it's very clear.
It's got an interesting smell. It's very appley.
Yeah.
And it's got something else in there. Taste-wise, it's kind of a semi-sweet. It's not overly sweet.
Right.
But it's not dry. So
no.
That's pretty good wine.
It's a nice little sit on the deck in the evening kind of wine.
Yeah, it's a very good summer wine. Empty Nester's apple. So when we open, come and grab a bottle of our Empty Nester's apple wine. Until next week, take care. Thanks for joining us.